you doing? Um, all right. The EMD 645 Section 1 crankcase oil. All right. Contents. All right. Crankcase description: cleaning, inspection, lower lining, bore, insert, description, application, removal, crab bolts, description, maintenance, main bearing stud bolts, description, maintenance, check main bearing steel bore dimensions. Oil pan description: cleaning, inspection, crankcase to oil pan sealed, description, maintenance, airbox to drain, description, top deck head frame and cover, description and maintenance, service status, specifications, equipment list. Alright, your electric motive engine maintenance manual, section 1, crankcase oil. And we're gonna Alright, your crankcase description. Crankcase figure 1 is the main structural engine with a steel fabrication form with a rigid supporting assembly with a commodity of the cylinder power assembled with the crankshaft with the engine mounted accessories. Hand holes in the side of the panels provide for gasketed cover, allow inspection of liners, piston cleaning, airbox, access to the water manifold, and oil pan mounting bolts. The figure 1, and then maintenance cleaning. The crankcase should be cleaned with a remove of the foreign material for any of the work that has been done with the interior engine. If the damage occurred with the engine, this can be done by using a spray gun solvent or equivalent near the engine. Should be protected against the spray. After spraying the top deck, wipe the towels saturated with solvent. Wipe all solvent trapped in corners and pockets. Use only lintless bounded edge towels. Alright, crankcase. For a 1/16 cylinder shows the aftercooler watering discharge, your water discharge manifold, your cylinder exhaust passage, your center crab support, cylinder head retainer, camshaft bearing support, cylinder head location, water discharge assembly, water outlet. And then on the bottom you see an airbox, handhold, inspection opening, base rail, linear piston insert, piston cooling manifold, airbox drain hole, end plate, and main bearing A-frame. Our changing of the airbox with a spray gun with the liners are in play but not recommended in practice due to possibility of dirt entering liners at the ports. Anytime cleaning is done, oil crankcase protection should be given the oil passage bearing surface gears to prevent gritty material from being trapped. Cleaning procedures should be in accordance with accepted practice or as recommended with the supplier of the cleaning material. Inspection. Periodic inspection for the crankcase should be performed to detect minor discrepancies which are not corrected could result with a major crankcase failure. Early detection and repair of the crankcase is essential since major repairs usually cannot be performed in the field. And in this instance, with extensive welding is required, crankcase may be stress relieved and remachined where necessary. Therefore, it is recommended that the crankcase require rebuilding, reconditioning, return to the manufacturer for repair. Your lower liner bore insert description. Replaceable phosphate treated cast iron insert figure 1. 2 is used with each of the liner bore of the crankcase to provide a wearing surface at the lower linear port. Seal with the held and grooves the lower linear port prevent air passages between insert and liner. Maintenance. When the inside diameter of the insert is installed with the crankcase reaches the maximum limit, the insert should be removed and new one installed. Replacement of the insert lower liner bore crankcase requires usually a sturdily constructed tool. Apply removal of the insert safely, efficiently. Lower the low insert application removal tool figure 1-3 is specifically designed to do the work. The tool consists of press or pulley or assembly and a 10-ton hydraulic jack. The hydraulic jack consists of 10-ton hydraulic jack, ram, a high-pressure hose, and a high-pressure hydraulic pump. The insert application. The arrangement of the tool for the insert application shown in figure 1-3A and 1-3C. The insert is installed as follows. Coat the contact area of the outside diameter of the insert mounting compound. Manually place the insert in place of the lower bore. Position it in the pressing operation starting uniformity in the bore. Assemble the tool as shown in figure 1-3A, which ram screwed into the screw plug into the boss insert plate. Ram plunger should be retracted retracted position, disconnect the high pressure hose is attached to the ram. Lift the tool hoisting ring, place it into the tool center resting upon the cylinder retainer. The tool should be positioned with a house connection and assembly with the stress plates and inspection opening. Secure the whole tool and use the 4 crab nuts at the crab stud holding bosses. Figure 1-2 shows the lower linear bore insert piston, linear and insert. Alright, figure 1-3 shows your low bore installation and application removal tools and removal. 1 shows your crab stud holding assembly. And then 2 is the hoisting ring. 3 is the screw plug. 4 is a high pressure hose connection. 5 is a 10-ton rack. And then your 6 would be your insert plate, 7 insert plate, and 7 insert, 8 holding studs, 9 upper plate, 10 ram plate, and then pulling studs 11, and 12 high pressure hose, 13 hydraulic pump. After the high pressure hose 12 to the ram 5 at the ram connection, using the hydraulic pump extended with the plunger to contact with the press of the bore until the shoulder is seated. Your insert removal. The range of the tool inserts removal is shown figure 1-3B. Inserts removed as follows. Assemble the tool for the removal is shown removed with the 4 nuts holding the insert plate with the remove of the plate as also remove the high pressure 12 and the ram 5 is connected. If it is connected, lift the tool using the hoisting ring, place the cylinder resting upon the retainer, position the tool so that the hose fitting may be reached at the outside bore to permit hose application, apply 4 crab nuts to secure the tool. Place the ram plunger and insert plate bolts and extend below the insert permit. Insert plate application shown figure 1-3B. Apply with the insert and the holding plate. Connect the high pressure 12 and the fitting of the 4 on the ram 5 using the pump 13. Remove the insert 7 from the crankcase bore. In the event the insert application and removal tool is not available, insert may be applied and removed by using a mallet or fanonical or wooden block. Alright, 1-4 shows your crab bolts. And then, crab, 3, crab bolt, 4 cylinder head, 5 retaining bolt nut, 6 retainer, 7 retainer bolt. Alright, your crab bolts. The cylinder head liner is bolted together with its assemblies held with the cylinder head retainer by crab bolts, head screws, and nuts. Figure 14. The crab bolts extend up through the cylinder bank of the deck plate. Adjacent to each cylinder retainer, the bolts heads have a cylindrical seat surfacing, with the seat is likely surface the bolts held in pole position. Separate plate with the bolts with each of the pair of the square bolt heads fit in the corresponding holes in the plate to prevent their turning and them being torqued. Alright, maintenance. The crab bolts can be removed through the airbox of removing the crab bolt retainer plate with a bolt retainer plate. Bolt and retainer plate. Retainer bolt and plate and bolt are easily accessible often after the liner has been removed. The crab bolts threads must be cleaned up to using 1 3/4 inch by 12 or thread die. Crab nuts threads may be cleaned up using 1 3/4 inch 12 tap. Whenever the crab bolt threads are exposed, they should be covered with thread protectors. Caution: to prevent damage to the crab bolts having rolled threads and use only UNR type threads, they should be used. The die may also use the crab bolts having former cut threads. If one of the 2 crab bolts located on either end of the bank or one of the center bolts crab bolts 16 and 20 cylinders was broken, the other 3 bolts holding the cylinder head should be changed. If the broken crab bolt was in any other location, the remaining 5 crab holding heads made by the broken crab bolt should be changed. Alright, your main bearing stud and bolt and caps description. Main bearing stud bolts are shown in Figure 1.5. Each A-frame S4 is 1/4 coated main bearing stud, except for the center A-frame, which have two each. They pass through the A-frame main bearing caps. At Figure 1.5, the transversal hole upper end of each stud accommodates the bolt with the passes of the stud and slot upper nut. Similar semicircular or D-shaped nuts are used with the upper end of the stud. The upper nuts have a cylindrical surface matching the similar surface A-frame. Since the center A-frames are separated with each other, the retained assembly used to prevent upper nuts from turning. Retainer assembly is held in place over the nuts and the bolts pass through with the nut stud. The maintenance. The thread die can be used to clean up the stud bolts, as while the tip can be used to slotted nuts to aid obtaining correct torque values. The thread should be cleaned before parts application. All right, this shows your semicircular nuts, your A-frame bolt washers, bearing cup A-frame, 1620 cylinder retainer plate located on the A-frame, washer nut A-frame studs. Alright, upon application, each stud inserted within the plate of the A-frame run until the hole in the top of the stud lines with the bolt slots of the nut with the lower end of the stud with 7-inch from the section A-frame where stud is brought out of the cylindrical surface of the upper nut contact with the mating surface of the A-frame. This is to ensure lower studded nuts can be properly tightened with the bearing as applied with a bolt and the self-locking nut then be applied, except the center of the A-frame 16 and 20 cylinders, the upper nut flat contact other than where it places on all A-frames except for the center A-frames which are separated from each other. A retainer plate is used in the center A-frame up to upward nuts to prevent it from turning. After the studs has been run into the nuts properly with the mount of the retainer, which is like a channel, is placed over the nuts. The bolts are applied through the retainer across the nut slots. The bolt slot is a retainer over the different widths, with one slot being larger to secure the bolt head, prevent it from turning when being tightened. The retainer are cut in one way on one side to provide clearance for a stiffener plate between center A-frames. Main bearing caps originally applied with the A-frame. They are line bored, therefore they are not interchangeable. Available. The replacement must be applied in the same A-frame in the same piston. Removed each end A-frame is stamped on the right side of the bearing number. In addition, with all the caps and A-frame are stamped with crankcase serial number before the cap. Application variations in cap and A-frame remove any of the burns form material, and that would prevent good mating. Alright, checking the main steel bore bearing, the main bearing steel bore dimensions. The time of crankcase overall, whenever the crankcase is removed from the engine, is necessary to determine when the bearing steel bore dimensions are in tolerance. Note, dimension wear limits for containing the surface tab at the end of the section. Place crankcase on its side. Be sure that the crankcase A-frame bore seriations are clean. Lubricate stud, nuts, seats, and head hardened washers with Texaco Threadex number 2303. Use hardened washer under the main cap, bearing cap nut, and is mandatory to ensure proper bolt stretch. Remain nut torque. Damaged nut seat areas on the caps must be cleaned and spot surface or by taking a cut of parallel to the seriation surface. Apply main bearings torques to the nuts to 2 passes. One first pass torque nuts to 350 to 400 foot-pounds of torque. On the second pass, final torque of the nuts 750 foot-pounds. No one nut or any one cap should be torqued to 750 pounds until all nuts caps have been torqued to 350 400 pounds. A procedure using a stretch measurement as the criteria monitoring torques of engine is disassembled is side available for the electric motor division service. Check with the main boring dimension with the minimum maximum limits for the 2-set measurement. Each bore 1 set 1.5 inch for the accessory end of the bore of 1.5 inch in the generator end of the bore shown in figure 1.6. 1.6 shows the main boring measurement. Any one diameter is a one. If any one diameter is out of place, the crankcase may be shipped to the electric motor division remanufacturer. If the engine owner has facility for crankcase for matching, which does not, as its own remanufactured contact electric motor device representing the information concerning control of main bearing steel bores during remanufacture. If overheated bearing is necessary to check out the A-frame, close it with a crankcase engine with a check for the using new upper main bearings. To the bearing must have fit to the A-frame bore. Also check the clearance of each side between the bearing shell and the crankcase on the split line above. Alright, the seriations reference bearing inspection held in section 6. Additional information: main bearing power wrench that may be obtained with using the engine wrench, which may be supported with the oil inspection opening offset ratchet set available, running up and loosening main bearing nuts. Alright, your oil pan. The engine oil pan, figure 1/7, fabricated steel assembly with a support with a crankcase, serves as the engine base. The oil located centrally in the oil pan, provide the oil with oil drains. The bayonet type oil level, the gauge extends side with the oil pump sump, the scavenging oil pump suction line into the oil pumps, extending with the sump of the end. Openings each end of the plate allow the camshaft accessory end housing drain into the oil pan. Handholds of each cylinder locations provide gasket covers, allow access to enclosed engine parts. Liquid accumulations from the airbox drains pipe located front of the oil pan with a common flange for the discharge. Or your maintenance. The oil pan should be thoroughly cleaned at the time of the oil change. At any time the engine is damaged, particular attention should be given to the oil drain pipes to make certain that there is no accumulation foreign material accumulation from the corners of the pockets of the pan. Remove any loose or flaking paint from the pan interior. Or inspection. Inspection oil pan rails, nicks, burrs, foreign materials, any kind with the seal grooves, remove it to provide a clean and smooth surface. Any indentation of the seal grooves, base rails that would allow seepage must be filled with sour filled and finished flush surrounding area. And also inspection airbox drain pipes and plates, handhold, cover gasket surfaces for nick and roughness. Figure 1/7, typical cylinder, 16-cylinder oil pan. Alright, crankcase oil pan seal. Description: round silicone seal placed around the groove of the figure 1/8 with the oil pan mounting rail effective present, preventing any of the junction with the crankcase oil. 1/8 of the crankcase to oil pan seal. Your maintenance: install the seal grooves with the twisting and stretching without lubrication. Individual seals for each model engine with longer than required, but do not cut off seal ends at the time. Place crankcase over the rail over the pan and use the line-up pin guides for the 4 corner holes. Lower the crankcase oil pan, apply taper dowel bolts, and tighten. Check the crankcase oil arrangement and using care not to damage the seal cord. Alright, caution: do not pull or stretch ends of the seal cord. Assemble all crankcase to oil pan washer, snug 4 corner butts, about at 100 foot-pounds of torque, starting with the center bolt, alternating between the bolts to the left and the right center. Tighten the bolt torque to 100 foot-pounds. After tightening the bolts both sides of the engine 100 foot-pounds, you repeat the tightening sequence. Bring the bolts to finally 450 foot-pounds of torque. After all the bolts have been tightened to 450 pounds of torque, cut the seal cord around at the ends. Provide with the seal protrusion face end plates of 3/32 to 1/64 of an inch. Seal protrusion will seal the 3-way joint oil pan crankcase and end housing. Or your airbox drains. Accumulation liquids of the engine airboxes. Remove the drain holes, base rail of the crankcase aligned with the pipes, each of the side over the oil pan in front of the engine. Figure 1/9. Both pipes connect common flange mounted oil pan plate in left hand front of the engine. So you figure 1/9 has your typical airbox, a drain flange, airbox drain plugs, airbox drain holes. Off engine piping connects the flange, provides a constant drain feature in the airbox for the airbox. Your maintenance: the airbox drain should be cleaned at intervals specified in scheduled maintenance program. Disconnect external piping connected to the drain flange. Remove the drain flange from the oil pan. Clean with a brush and solvent. Remove airbox handhold covered near the drain hole. Feed cleaning tool in the drain hole in the base rail, turning it using a rotting motion. Loosen carbon sludge inside drain pipes. Then cleaning tool can be fabricated for an ordinary plumber's 1/4 inch music wire snake as follows. Cut off the auger head and then form a new head from heating from first 1 inch of the snake with a torch stretching in a tip area loosely wound spiral. Once the bath drains and have been completely cleared, flush the piping, fuel, oil, similar solvent, remove loose material, dissolve additional, mount drain flange on oil pan, reconnect external piping, reinstall airbox handhold covers. Alright, your top deck head frame and cover and description. Top deck cylinder head frames are mounted on the crankcase to protect enclosed fuel line, light linkage, camshaft assemblies, rocker arms. Assembly of fabricated frames provide flat steel surface the top deck covers. Covers are held in place and easily released latchets, making a top deck operating mechanism readily accessible with the support arms provided to hold the cover opening in any one of the series several position special hinges provided as an easy removal of cover to the top deck maintenance gasket between the bottom of the frame, crankcase, rubber seal, lower surface cover provided air and oil tight seal. Replacement of either gasket or seal is necessary. Electric Motor Division catalog, correct part numbers. Alright, your maintenance. Replace the top deck cover seal at intervals stated with the applicable scheduled maintenance program earlier if the seals are damaged or deteriorated. When applying new seals to cover, coat the seals lightly with a small amount of Electric Motor Division high temperature resistant grease. Number 4, this will prevent the seal from sticking to the frame, being damaged when cover is used. New gaskets should be installed between the frame and the crankcase whenever the frames are removed from the crankcase, sooner if the gaskets show sign of leakage. And then it goes over the crankcase, oil pan, and specifications. Crank dimension of the listed below to define as follows. New limits are the, to which new parts are manufactured. Drawing tolerances. Minimum, maximum tolerances provided with the service build. On time of the build, any of the unscheduled maintenance performed skilled and should not be exceeded. Engine components with these limits may be reused. Assurance of the perform will satisfactory until the next scheduled overhaul. Upper limit bore 12 inches and 91 hundredths of an inch to 12 inches and 94 hundredths of an inch. New maximum 12 inches and 12.104 inches. Lower linear pilot insert installed in crankcase 10.377 to 10.384 inches. Maximum 10.386 inches. Lower linear pilot bore case 11.063 inches to 11.067 inches. Max 11.68 inches. Main bearing with all the caps installed. Apply the torque at 700 foot-pounds. Take 7 main bearing bore measurements. Each bore at 1/2 inch for insert from the accessories end of the board, and 1/2 inch from the generator end bore. Figure 1/6. Diameter bore 8.2540 inches. Minimum 8.247 inches minimum. Alright, your bearing shell crankcase clearance, each side seriation split line, minimum 15 10,000ths of an inch. And then you got your equipment part list, and this has been the crankcase, section 1 crankcase, oil pan, and Electric Motor Division. Electric Motor Division 645.